There are several publications in the American landscape today that produce really high quality news and features pieces, such as the New York Times, the Washington Post, the Atlantic, and many more. Have you ever wondered what goes on behind the scenes to create that captivating style and remarkable depth of the pieces these publications put out? Have you ever wanted to have your name in the byline of one of these major news outlets or publications? Well, today's your chance to go behind the scenes and see the actual process behind creating these stories. The depth and quality of these pieces is really impressive, but arguably the brainstorming, the writing, the interviewing, and the whole process is actually a lot more impressive. My name's Will Martin, and I'm the sports editor at the Queens Chronicle here at Queens University of Charlotte. And today I'm going to take you on the journey of creating one of those really awesome news pieces that you see popping up on your Twitter timeline every day. The first stage of any story writing process will be brainstorming. At student publications like the Chronicle, brainstorming is going to happen mostly on your own. You can come in with a list of ideas that you might be interested in working on, or we'll brainstorm as a group during our bi-weekly meetings. Okay, I've got a couple ideas now. Now what? Ask yourself a series of questions. What does my audience, which would be Queen's students, really care about? What is realistic for me to find sources and information on? What is newsworthy in the current climate? Asking yourself this series of questions will help you narrow down that broad list of ideas and find the one idea that you want to work on now. Now it's time to start getting at those potential sources. Request interviews face to face. If they say, no, I don't really have enough time, tell them it will only take 10 to 15 minutes and ask again. If they say, no, I'm not comfortable with being in an interview, ask them again. You don't want to push anyone, but you really need those interviews to be the lifeblood of your story. If you don't have great interviews, you're probably not going to be able to produce a great story. You need those insights and those great little tidbits, those great quotes. That's what's going to make your story pop off the page. If you're not able to get those, if you're not able to get that quality of interview, your story on paper is probably going to struggle. The same goes for quantity. You want quantity and quality. If you're only able to get one source, no matter how great that source was, your story isn't going to have as much authenticity and respectability. You need to have as many sources as you possibly can, as many people that are around that topic, so that your story can have that credibility attached to it. Remember to always record your interviews. You never want to get caught in a situation where you can't remember the exact wording of a quote and you misquote someone. Additionally, it will help you keep track of the interview later on if you miss something in your notes. All right, I've got my sources, I've got my information, I've got my multiple interviews. Now what? Now begins your writing process. And I emphasize process for a reason. You're going to want to go back through your interviews, transcribe them if possible, pull out the best, juiciest quotes, start figuring out what your best threads of story are. What could you use for your intro? What could you end on a strong note with? You want to start pulling all that out. Get it all on the same page. Then you can look at it all and be able to figure out what your format's going to be, what your style's going to be. Don't just start writing straight off. Make sure you get that outline down first. Once you have this outline, then you can start writing. Get a rough draft on paper, get the whole thing in, and then at the Chronicle, you'll turn it into a copy editor. That copy editor will edit for basic grammar, style, and give you a few editing tips on what you should take for next steps. After you get that copy back, you'll edit it a bit, clean it up, make any changes you felt were needed, then you'll submit it to your section editor, which would be me if you were under the sports section. I'll give it a once-over, make sure it's all good to go, and then, bam, you're a published writer with your name in a byline and everything. And that's how that story that popped up on your Twitter timeline this morning got created behind the scenes. Again, my name is Will Martin. I'm the sports editor for the Queens Chronicle. I hope this video gave you a good insight into what it's like to write for the Chronicle, and we hope to see you very, very soon at our meetings.